All right, so we are here tonight right after the UCF beat Oklahoma 3-1 with an alum of the program, quite a distinguished one at that. She's a top 5 all time in both kills and digs. Is a program leader in service aces and played alongside some UCF legends that are adorn the UCF Hall of Fame. She also was an interim head coach for the program and an assistant coach right after her playing career. Of course, speaking of Miriam Metzcus Ochoa here, sitting with us right after the game. How you doing?
Yes, I'm doing great. What a great night. Good win by the Knights. Always like an exciting match. And I got to talk to Coach afterwards, and I said to her, you're too calm for me. I was kind of nervous. I was kind of excited, but it was really fun. It was fun to see the girls play. Kind of brought back some memories.
Do you ever go in, because I know you're coach nowadays at Hialeah Miami Lakes?
Yes,
that's
sir.
what's called.
Yes, sir.
So do you ever find yourself going into coach mode whenever you can sit down and watch a volleyball game and not coaching?
100%. I can't. I'm thankful that we were in the row P in the back, because I didn't sit the whole time. I stood, and then I'm critiquing, or I'm thinking about, okay, what play are they going to run? I can tell what the setter's what she was going to set, if she was going to set a back set. So yeah, just looking at the defense and kind of picking away and wondering why they were doing certain things. So that was kind of fun.
So so as far as like when you kind of go into coach mode, what do you see from the Knights tonight?
Man, I love their defense. I absolutely love the defense. So I love digging, and I loved passing, and I just thought it was so exciting. Like, they were such a good defensive team. I was surprised how much they trust their block, so they get right underneath, which is cool to get the tips and stuff like that. And they just really gel, and I enjoyed watching that, just kind of picking away at the defense.
How much has did watching tonight remind you of your team from back in the 90s?
Oh, big time. My team, I think what I enjoyed the most was our, like, that family, that team bond. And I saw that tonight a lot. Like, the excitement when somebody did something good, or a nice set, or a great dig. It was just like that cheering. Like, they were genuinely excited to play. And you could tell that the passion that they had was something that they're just starting to even build on.
Well, so now, how have you been keeping up with the team in the last few years during the McKenna Melville era and all that?
Yeah, a little bit here and there. You always kind of keep a look on them, and how are they doing? Are they going to win the conference? Are they going to go to the first round? Am I going to be able to catch them on TV? And so, brag about them and learn where the girls are from, all the different parts. Are there any local girls? Or they get a lot of people from the Midwest? So we had a good mix out on my team as well. Emily Bryson played. She was from Michigan. Lori Klinke, which some of these girls are still my best friends today. She's from Kansas. So it was nice to see, when you look at the roster, how many people come from all around, which is nice.
So what would you say the UCF volleyball team of the late 2010s, early 2020s is similar, kind of remind you of your team that won several conference championships back in the 90s?
I think that the passion for playing volleyball, that love for the sport, and the excitement that they had. We had solid passing. They had solid passing tonight. The serving was out of control, so we were always prided ourselves in serving, and then just being there for our teammate and coming and celebrating whatever we did. So I could tell that was something that this team, and in the past, they've had these different, like, relationships. It's like a good connection. It's good energy.
Before Melville came into the picture, you were the only UCF volleyball player in program history to be ranked in the top 5 in both kills and digs in program history. How hard would you say it is to do that? Because they're both very opposite stats, offensive
Right.
and defensive.
God, I when you think about it now, and I guess when you put it that way, I don't know, I guess it was all or nothing for me. It was all or nothing, and I was so excited to be recruited by Laura Smith, and I just wanted that opportunity to play and showcase. And so I love defense. I look at these girls tonight, and they're all 6 foot and 6'2", and I'm only 5'8", but I was sparky and I had a lot of energy. And so the kills, I'd have to say it goes with my setter. I mean, Emily Weiser and I were just like, we would just look at each other and know what the other person wanted or what they were doing, and it was like game on. And then it became fun for us.
what would you say if you thinking about you as a younger player? What stood out to you about McKenna Melville that was similar to the way that you play?
Like fiery, sparky, like going for it. That again, that like all or nothing for defense, for offense, like getting a touch on the ball and just not even thinking twice, just enjoying the moment, and playing.
You mentioned Coach Laura Smith. So what was it like getting recruited by her and coaching under her, and coaching both being under her as a coach and then coaching on her staff right after your fight?
It was interesting because, I was her last, she only had one scholarship to give. I joined a team full of seniors. And so her first year as a coach, she saw me play in a tournament and said, listen, I got one scholarship. You want it? And I was like, okay. And she's like, I have a team of seniors. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if you're going to play. I basically adopted this team because the other coach had left. And so she says, well, let's take this journey together. And so it was kind of like my first year was my freshman year, kind of like, even though it was her first year coach, you remember she won the national championship here as a player. And so it was like we were in it together. And so I think from starting together that first year and it being her first year, I learned so much from her, and just watched her coach us for all those years and all those wins. And she basically just took us all over the world and said, you know what, we're going to show them who UCF is, and we're going to go to California, played in the University of San Diego tournament. We're going to go play at Pepperdine. Why not? And then she was always like pushed us to play in big tournaments, and who cares that we were just, at the time small UCF. It was let's go, let's show them who we are. And so I appreciated that.
Parallels just don't seem to stop there, because you can really say the same about McKenna and Jenny, because Jenny Maurer, of course, her first recruiting class when she came to UCF, of course she's the head coach now, she was the assistant coach then, but she brought in McKenna and Amber Olsen, which I've been talking with like my colleagues, and we talk about how it really feels like a very similar scenario to what it was back in the 90s with Quaiser and you, or Quaiser and Renata. So what was it like, just as far as comparing that 90s team as far as a player wise, because you have Renata, you have Tyra, you have Quaiser, like all these players that you see dot the top of the top of UCF's record books, right. And then you have McKenna and Amber and Anne-Marie Watson, Narissa Moravec here in the 2010s, 2020s, doing that, couple decades later.
Right. I think it's really interesting because, like you said about the parallels, and I think about the time, like, and it's 20, 30, year gap, and I think it has a lot to do with the coaching too. And I told Coach when I spoke to her after the match, and I said, man, you've really put a nice team together. They're gelling well. And I think that our coach did the same thing. She just put a team together of girls who gel well and complement each other, I think that when we got Tyra, when we got Renata, Tyra was my senior year, so we just had her as a freshman, and she was raw, and she was, excited like I was when I was a freshman to just play Division I. So it was kind of like I was already at the top of my game, and she was just, happy to be there. And then she started coming in her own. So I see a lot of similarities with some of the younger girls, the freshmen that I watched today, like, wow. But I think maybe that was us then 20 years ago. We laughed because we were never that big. They're just tall. And so they had that going for them.
So what is it like? Because obviously you go on to be a coaching staff under Laura Smith, and then you got to see Renata play and become the all-time kills leader. So what was it like to have the career that you had, which was no slouch at all in the kills department, and then immediately follow that up with coaching Renata and seeing her do her thing?
Right. She was just so methodical. Like, she was trained so well. I mean, she came from Russia, and some of the stories that she would tell us, they groomed them in other countries. She was like, volleyball was life, and if that was something that she was gonna make of herself, it had to be training, and they were very particular. I feel like the Chinese, the Japanese, they're very particular about their skill set. So it was like she was almost like robotic in the sense that she rarely made mistakes because she had perfected her arm swing, her wrist snap, and it was just really neat watching her play. And then we'd kind of pick her brain like, how did you serve like that? You know, like I said, and I liked my serve, but she just had, it was very like quick whip. So it was nice to learn from her, and just started to learn from different players and how they pick up certain skills.
And then, of course, Tyra Harper went on, she got married and then went on to have quite the pro career where people will now know her as Tyra Turner.
Yeah.
So what was it like to play with her back in those days? And how would you say Tyra Harper maybe differs from Tyra Turner?
Just grown and her knowledge of the game. Like I said, I played with her. I was a senior. She was a freshman, so there was still a lot of learning going on. She had the height. She has the physicality. She had all that. She had the mental game. She's from Fort Myers, so it's a beachy town. And so when she started to play on the beach too and got married, I think her game just elevated because she's so athletic. And I think that's a big part of her, is that she got the knowledge, the confidence grew. Every year after her freshman year, that you could see that confidence building. Even though she had the height, she had the athletic ability, I think sometimes in her mind that confidence wasn't there, and then it just exploded. And that's when I think she just became the top of her game.
So you played during the era of rally scoring in volleyball.
Yes.
So what was it like to play with that type of system, and how did you notice the game change when it went away from that?
I think was just like when every point matters. I think that's a big deal. Like, people don't realize like how important your serve is, because serving could be a point, or it could give the other team a point. And I still do that with coaching. When you look at the end of the game and you said, we had 4 service 8 errors. Well, you just gave a team 4 points and they didn't even earn it. And that was something our coach always told us, like, make them earn the point. You had those people who were serving for aces, and you knew that this is a person that's going to serve for ace. I'm serving for points. And so I think that is a game changer. And it happened tonight towards the end. Someone misses their serve and all of a sudden it's game point, and you give that away, and that other team doesn't have to earn it. And I think the rally scoring made the game, they thought was going to make it faster, less time, because you'd side out, and a game could go 3 hours. Well, what happened with rally scoring, it just became so fun because everything mattered. So everything's a major celebration because everything is a point. Every rally is a point for somebody. So I think that's what brings that excitement out.
It kind of boggles my mind where, like, during that, of course, that kind of inflates your stats like kills, and then here's McKenna Melville coming later on, no rally scoring whatsoever, and then flowing, just getting one of the most biggest volleyball kills as far as like NCAA history, not just UCF history. Like, she was like right up there with Jordan Thompson, the Olympian.
Yeah.
So when you look at McKenna and Renata, because you have a really unique experience, because you played with you coached Renata, you saw McKenna play. So what would you say is the biggest difference between the two?
I think McKenna's, I think her back row attacks were probably too phenomenal. I think that has grown over the years, where that's a weapon now. People didn't use that. I mean, we did once in a while, but if we had a back row attack and it was a kill, it was like, oh my God, that was so cool. Like, we did it. But now it's almost part of the system. Sometimes now it's even part of the game, where you don't just have your 3 hitters, or if your setters in the front row, you've got your people in the back row too that are hitters. So they're almost like a weapon. And I think that's what has like upped the game and the difference. We didn't use that as much as they do now.
What about as far as the blockers? Because we had Anne-Marie Watson and Narissa Moravec here at the same time, and both of them ended up jumping ahead of Tyra in terms of block assisting. So, I mean, obviously having 2 Tyra Harpers on the court probably would have been really big. But when you look at the both of them, what kind of reminded you of Tyra in the way they block?
That they make themselves bigger than what they are. Very smart looking, and when I say bigger than what they are, like, you see them at the net and they are just like a force to be reckoned with. Their hands are out, they're just looking and they're picking it up, and you can just see in their eyes and their body position, even today's blocking, they knew where the set was going. They knew it and they capitalized it. So being more athletic, and I think the strength training has a lot to do with it now, as we're going. Listen, the facilities they have now, we didn't have that. Our Wayne Dench was a very small building over on the other side of campus. So the strength conditioning, the food, the nutrition, and all those programs too have just upped the level of the athlete.
So you mentioned the facilities. What was it like to be in that venue environment? It was the third highest crowd in program history. The venue, they got a new video board up there. It's not up there. It's all nice and painted now.
Yeah.
What was it like to kind of to see the venue in this form? There's still more to go.
And it's so funny because it's surreal, and I'm so proud that I was a part of UCF volleyball history. I could be jealous that we didn't have that, but I'm just so happy for the girls now. Like, they are so fortunate, and they seem like they're embracing the moment. We stayed, I'm here with my son, get autographs, and I thought that was super cool because that really connects the community. So I'm not jealous. I'm just so excited for them, and I'm so happy for them that they're getting to learn this experience and connect with the community, because it's beyond being a great athlete. It's about building that community and that support. They're going to go to the next level. And I always said, I think we did so well too because we made friends with people all over. You're kind to someone, you talk to them. We had our own little fan system that would travel, and sometimes they just show up and we'd be like, what? You came to see us. And I think that's really what builds a team.
When you look at the girls now on the team, you have Claudia Dillon and Abby Hansen in the middle. We mentioned Amory and Narissa before, but when you look at Abby and Claudia, like what aspects of them kind of remind you of back in the day with the blockers then, like Tyra?
I think that being aggressive and being smart, I think we're probably so good because, and I noticed with them is that they just read the game. Like, you can see their movements off the ball. They're reading the game. So many pickups that they do. I just noticed that during the game, I put like you said, I put my coaching hat on, and I'm just watching them. Like, I'm not watching. A lot of times people watch volleyball like they watch a tennis match. You're looking at both sides. You're watching a rally. And sometimes when you want to really learn or you want to see what players are doing, when they have all these coaches on the side, they're just looking at their play. They're just looking at their side. What are my girls doing? Is my team lining up on defense? How can we get better? What are they doing off the block? So I think part of it was that reminds me of like, man, they pick up a lot of balls. We did the same thing because we got really volleyball mentally smart. We were very smart with the game, and I see that with these girls.
You coach high school volleyball now, and so tonight you got to see Ava Armour and Abby Shomers, who are not too far off from being in high school, redshirt for true freshmen and redshirt freshmen respectively. This is like this offense is the youngest part of this team. So when you look at those players, what do you see out of them when you put your coaching hat on?
I enjoy that they are playing like they have nothing to lose. Freshmen can be very timid or unsure, and it was really nice to see that they're just like, hey, I'm here and I'm starting, and I'm Division I in the Big 12, and I'm going to prove myself, and I'm confident. So that was nice to see that confidence that they had. So I thought that was cool because I think they're owning who they are, which is a big deal, especially as freshmen.
So tell me that as far as, because I mentioned high school coaching, so what has it been like for you now? You're at Hialeah, Miami Lakes now. What made you decide to go over there after you finished coaching at UCF, and what has it been like coaching at the high school level?
Well, I went to high school there, so I'm born and raised from there. So when I left here, I went back home, I was like, well, I'd go nowhere else. There would be no way. Now I coached at Barry University, Division II, for 4 years, won a national championship with them. So, after that, you get older, and you said before I had my son, I said, okay, I guess this is time. I got to take a break. If I'm going to start a family, I got to dedicate myself to that. So when I stopped coaching at Barry is when I had my son. And then after he got a little, a couple years older, I was like, all right, I was itching again. And I said, well, college takes a lot. It takes a lot, and there's recruiting and there's travel on the weekends. And I said, well, I want to give back to my high school because I had the same experience and it got me to UCF. So I said, if I can help the high school kids, I do the girls and I do the boys. If I can help those kids go to the next level at anywhere I can, then that's my job. I need to do that for them because of the experience that I had here. I wouldn't trade it for anything. The memories, when you go back and I look at my stats, I think to myself, I don't even know that I realized that I did some of those things, that I had all that, because I was fortunate. I was on a full ride. I was getting my education, and I made my friends that I have for life, So one of my teammates is my son's godmother. Like, it's just irreplaceable. So I think that was what I needed to do. I needed to give back to my high school kids.
Well, one of the biggest aspects of your game that I feel like that you can say that McKenna didn't get to you is in terms of your serves. You still lead the program history in service aces, and
I gotta hold on to that.
Yeah. So, but that said, though, this team has really been showing a really a knack for serving the ball.
Yes,
so,
strong.
What was it like for you serving in those days? What do you think? What was kind of your secret, I guess, as far as serving? And what do you think this team here has been doing that maybe remind you of your days as serving the ball that has made them such a serving powerhouse?
Right. I think I don't know if I can give up my secret, but what I think that I noticed there, they have amazing float serves, and people don't realize a jump serve, a top spin, sometimes can be super nasty and hard to dig because it's coming fast and hard. It's like a 90-mile fastball, But a float serve, it just all of a sudden it's going towards you and then it moves away, and you're like standing there. If you're a passer, you're standing there and you're like, okay, the ball just moved. And so I think I saw a lot of float serves. I was like, see, float serves are coming back. So it might happen. I don't know. My record might disappear soon. But secret was just, even in practice, like I tell my athletes now, you gotta wanna love to serve. Like, I loved it. So if my coach said, because I was even looking, if he was given serving positions and why he was given certain serving positions, like go to position 5, So I saw them serving to where he was calling it, and that's the key. You gotta find the weakness in your opponent, and then sometimes get them out of system. So you're going to do a short serve because you've got their outside hitter, number 13, get her out of system, because we're going to force an error. We're going to force them to go somewhere else, so our block is ready. I mean, volleyball is very strategic, and I think a lot of people don't realize that, especially the younger generation. They don't realize how much of a mental game it is, and it's very strategic and why you want to do certain things. So I just got really good at practice. Like, I want to serve any position at any time, whatever you need. And so I think that was, like, I owned that, and I just, it was fun.
What made you want to continue to join Coach Smith's staff after you played?
I just wasn't done with volleyball. I love the sport. I still love it. Even when I took a little hiatus, it was like, it's in me, Like, even tonight, like, I can't sit down. I'm excited. Even though it was going 4 games, I was like, okay, this is like quality volleyball, and just watching that and learning and, thinking, okay, what am I going to run in practice when I get back after the weekend and whatnot. And I took some video, and what am I going to show my teams. But, she was tough on us, I will be honest. She was tough on us sometimes, but I almost think that she was very good at making us become a team. So even when we got so mad at her, even when she did things that we all didn't like, it was almost like she did it so that we bonded more. So she kind of, one of those reverse psychology, and I was like, dang it, she made us great. And as much as we didn't like some of her tactics sometimes, we all laughed, because we're like, if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't all be best friends as of today. We just went on a little girls' weekend. We have it. Same weekend in September every year that our volleyball team gets together, most of us, and hang out.
You guys won a string of conference ASUN championships back in those days. You see the same thing happen later on with that team do that. What would you say, from as far as just a coaching standpoint, what does it take to be able to
I think it's a belief system. I think the coach makes the team believe in each other, in themselves, and like trust the coaching staff, trust the process. When you can do that and your players can trust you, and I think we did trust her, like she's not going to take us to all these tournaments everywhere. She's not going to make us do, I mean, we did taekwondo in the off season. We did karate, we did stretching. I mean, you name it, we did it. And we thought, why is she making us do this? But it was just to better us, to give us another avenue. It wasn't just about volleyball. And I think that's what made us so good, because even when we didn't talk on the court, we knew what we were doing. I think we just had that knack. And I think that's what these teams, they have.
So then, what did it feel? What did it feel like for you to when you became the next in line, when you took over for her after she departed?
You know, I knew I had big shoes to fill, and I knew that she was loud and boisterous, and I think it was time that she, you know, that the university was moving in a different direction, and she was moving in a different direction in her own life, and so it was kind of like maybe I was her shadow. And so it was like, okay, it was like they still had her, but they had me, you know? So I think it was one of those things that it was still that comfort level. So I thought I wasn't going to fill her shoes, because then I was going to take, you know, that's the hardest thing, is that, oh, someone's here and now, you know, player, how are they going to run things? And so you kind of just have to make it your own.
So just tell me, so describe that season. I know it was only one, but like, what was that season like for you?
Oh, it was a learning season for me, and not even with the coaching, because I think the coaching comes easy, and I love coaching and I love helping and teaching, hence why I'm a teacher today. But I love the teaching aspect of it. I think what people don't realize too, that it has a lot to do with like the travel and organization of, you know, the uniforms. And back in the day, we didn't have all this extra help, you know, making sure that the girls were going to class, making sure they had good grades, you know, going to study hall. So I think that was the biggest and toughest thing that I had, because I thought, hey, I can coach, you know, I can go recruit and I, you know, practices and all that. That I had no problem with that. I think it was all the other stuff that you had to deal with.
So back in the 90s, there were, I mean, when you look at the Ring of Honor and you look at the record book, there was a lot of major players back in those days. You see Renata Menchikova, you see the Emily Quizers at the top of, near the top of the list, yourself, Tyra Harper. So who would you say on that 90s squad that maybe some UCF people might not remember as much today, that you feel like was a major aspect in the program being what it was during that time?
I think Emily Bryson was one of our middles. We only had her 2 years. She was a junior college transfer from Michigan. She came in as a lefty. I think she was going to be, she was a right side player because she's a lefty. And our coach was like, no, I think you're going to be a middle. She was 6'1". I mean, so she's, you know, decent size. She was very athletic. Her biggest thing is she was left-handed. So it was like, that's kind of unheard of to have a left-hander be a middle, because the setting and everything has to go across your body. The positioning that she comes in to hit a one is different than a right-handed player. You know, it was very difficult. Listen, Emily got hit in the face. Quizer got hit in the face numerous times because of the way that they would come across and whatnot. So that was funny, because it was difficult that you would see that Quizer would cry some practices. She's so mean to me. Emily Quizer was a freshman. She's a junior college transfer. So there was a big difference. You know, Emily's coming from high school, and here's Bryson coming like, send me the ball better. You know, she demanded a lot from Emily Quizer. And even though it was tough on Emily, I think it made her a better setter. Like, then once they connected, it was amazing. There would be some hits that we were all just like, oh my gosh. And it was fun, and it was just exciting, because we knew how hard they had both worked to make that partnership, because it's a partnership, work. Your setter and hitter have to be like partners.
In that case, then, when you look at McKenna and Amber, how much did you see you and Emily in them?
Oh, 100%, because it's that cool connection that make that combo. You know, hitters can better the ball on not a good set, but those setters, they want to work for their hitters because of the excitement. So maybe Emily didn't get all the fame or the cheering when the ball goes, straight down. But it's that when the hitter comes, and so I always used to see McKenna the couple times that I came to watch them play, or on TV if there was ever a match. It was like you go to your setter and you're like, yes, like thank you, like you created that. And I think that setter being the unsung hero, I saw that. Like they're so excited because obviously your setter made that happen.
When you look at what McKenna, so of course McKenna ended up kind of paralleling me again by she's now coaching high school at Egan. Do you know, because I know you, I mean, when you look at her, you notice her team leader capabilities, but like when you look at her, what do you kind of see as far as just being a leader and being a coach? You know?
I think that you just love the sport so much. You love the sport and you want to give other young girls or boys, depending on who you coach, I think you just want to give them the opportunity. And if you know you have that and you know you can give it, then you do it. Because I think we both had such great experiences here at UCF that we want other people to experience that, whether it's at UCF or whether it's at another college. I think we both have that we really want other kids, the young generation, we want them to have that same experience, because we'll never forget it. We'll never. We can probably, she'll have stories, I'll have stories that we can remember, hers are a little sooner than mine are a long time ago, but we still have those memories. I can remember certain plays that Emily and I would run, and I'm sure she'll eventually get to that point. There's certain things that you will remember, plays, defenses, places that we went, that will be unforgettable.
What would you say was the most unforgettable moment for you guys back in that time?
Oh my gosh. Emily and I had this play, we really had fun. I have to be honest. We really had fun. Even when we had tough matches, we'd kind of make a joke or we'd say something funny in the huddle, just because that's just who we were, kind of goofy. But we used to have this play called Bumblebee Tuna. Don't ask why. I don't know how it came, but it was I was right front, Emily was middle front at the time, and serve receive, and she'd always set me a back one. Like, for some reason, that was our go-to play, a back one. Like, if I pass, I'm going to back one. And then it would just be like, she just knew it. And no matter if I didn't say it or not, she knew I was going. Even if the ball was passed, away from the target, she knew I'm coming to her. She better set me. And then we just used to be like Bumblebee Tuna. I don't know why, that was just something we did.
What is it about this sport that has made you want to be around it for so long? Whether it's getting into it in the first place or just being around it as long as you have been?
I think it's physical. I think it's the excitement. It's fast paced. It's there's so many things that you can even get better even now. Like when you see, I used to love back row attacks and they weren't that popular. You can always learn new plays. You can always I don't know. I think it's a physical game. I still try to play it now. Listen, let me tell you, my kids laugh at me. I'm hurt. My knees are hurting the next day. But I just think because it's that passion and that fire and that energy just all come back, And I celebrate. We used to practice. Sometimes our coach would be like, "We're going to practice celebrating today." We're like, "What?" Because you celebrate. You're encouraging. I like this feeling, you release your endorphins, you're celebrating, and it's a good feeling, and the crowd feels it, and it gets everybody going, and you want more of it. So I think that happens all the time in volleyball. A good play happens, a good serve, a great dig, a pancake, and it's like that energy just fills up and you want more of it.
Aside from the scoring system, how has the game changed over these last 30 years?
Oh my God, I think it's the physicality. The girls are bigger and stronger. I think even today, I'm like, the rallies, we had some good rallies, but sometimes these rallies are amazing. And I just think that the blocking it's so much more on point. Like they're blocking and we're covering and we're picking it up, and you think the ball is down and the girl's running across the court and she's bringing it back. And I think, and it wasn't till I got out of my first year that I graduated, my first year as assistant, a grad assistant, that we had libero come into play. We didn't have libero back in my 4 years. There was no libero.
Yeah.
I know.
So that's
it's
like
a long time ago.
They're brand new. No, the thing about libero is because it's kind of been a key part, and now that was back in the day. That was when it was in its infancy.
Right. We had two walk-ons that are from Miami, two twins that came from Miami, walk-ons, and then they were just back row players because they were 5'5". They loved to pass, they loved to play defense. Like they're They're like the libero. I mean, like they won it, but it only had to be on a sub. It only had to be on a substitute. And then when the libero came, actually it was 1 year or 2 years, because one tore her ACL, and then after that she didn't come back, and so her twin sister still had 1 more year, and that's when the libero came in. She was like, that's not fair, because then they realized we can come in all the time. We don't have to just be subbed in for one player. So they were like, why didn't this happen earlier? You know, so even if you're not tall and you're a volleyball player, you know, they do have something to look for. You could be an amazing defensive specialist. You can be a libero, and you can make your career off being a libero if you're not tall. Because a lot of times in certain sports like volleyball and basketball, the girls get discouraged because, oh, I'm not tall enough. These girls are 6'2", 6'3". You think, I'm 5'9", how can I compete? Unless I have a 40-inch vertical, you know? A lot of times now, you know, the younger kids, hey, become a libero or have sweet hands and become a setter. You know, they have something to look forward to.
And of course, now the most attended women's sporting event in history is the volleyball game.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing, that Nebraska game. 90,000, did you see
Yes.
that? Oh my God.
What does it mean to you, the fact that your sport now has that title?
Oh, it's just like you get goosebumps. And now, you know, I was telling my mom the other day, I was like, Mom, it's on ESPN Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you know, before football season started. I was like, oh my God, you can watch it every day, like on ESPN. You can go to the FS1, and it's cool to see that they're getting that recognition. Was it the Nebraska 90,000 people? Maybe it was, but it was nice that, I don't know how they developed that. I don't know if I want to say that I read something like it was a year in the making to make that happen. But I think that was a powerful message to the fans, to the world, and that I think they love the game so much because it really is exciting. You know, sometimes with the men's game, if you watch men's collegiate volleyball, it's amazing too, because these guys hit straight down, but they don't have the rallies that the girls have. I think it was ESPN's top play a few days ago I think the Kentucky game, and it was the top play on ESPN. That she saved the ball. She jumped over the score table, saved the ball, and they won the point. So just that recognition is like, wow, people realize that the sport is fun.
Oh yeah, no,
it's entertaining, and it's exciting, and it's physical. It's, you know.
Oh yeah, I remember actually that happened during the tournament, jumping over the scoring table. The scoring table, that was all over the place. Having it happen on the biggest stage like that. So how would you say UCF has changed? Like maybe not just the volleyball program, but everywhere at UCS to this year day.
Even today, like I left work early because I'm like, I need my fix. I need to go. Just you walk around the campus and everybody's, you know, sporting their UCF gear on, and I went to the fountain. You know, I went to the main building. I'm going to the fountain, and some similarities. Kids are still kind of laying on the lawn, hanging out. There was groups having, you know, a picnic blanket. But just the excitement that brews for like a weekend game, or when I hear my students and people like, oh, I want to get into UCF, or I can't get into UCF, and I'm thinking, wow, you can't get into UCF, you're pretty smart. So just how it's just raised its level, I think that has like really, again, not shocked me, but excited me, because we're in a large city. You know, when you think of, I know people say Orlando, they think Disney World, and you're like, that's on the other side. So I think that the fact that people are just here and they're excited to be part of this is exciting.
What has it meant to you to see, you know, your alumni kind of be raise its profile? I mean, obviously in volleyball, it's kind of been a long and winding road to get back to the level that you guys got to, and you know, you're making it to NCAA tournaments and all that, and winning several consecutive conference championships. But you see everything else around you. You see. I remember someone was saying how people would wear, you know, Florida and FSU shirts on campus all the time back in the day. I mean, now you see UCF shirts everywhere. Like they actually took, you know, the awareness of UCF seems to have really gone up a lot.
Yeah, I think that it's that pride, and I feel like UCF had that even a long time ago, just in a smaller number, you know, because we weren't established. Let's say, you know, Florida's been around a long time. Florida State, you know, remember when Laura won the national championship, it was the day after is when they changed FTU to UCF. I don't know if you were aware of that. And that's like one of my favorite stories, because she says, we won the national championship, we're celebrating, and we can't wait. Newspaper was it, back in the day. Oh, are my stats in there? Did they put my name in the newspaper? And she says they get the newspaper and it says UCF women's volleyball wins national championship, and they were like, who's that? That was the day after they won the national championship that the school changed their name. And she goes, we're celebrating, FTU is on our jersey, and it says UCF wins the national championship. She goes, we were all like shocked. Like, how did they just do that to us, And that was like, the changing moment. And I'm sure at the time people thought, this is when we'll make the announcement. This will be great. Not thinking that this volleyball team has been together for, 4 years, and they've all been here, and they win something, and you change the name, on them. So they were a little bittersweet. But I think that was it moving forward, like becoming bigger as we've progressed over the years, and so we're seeing the fruits of our labor and who they've hired, and, from the president to the athletic director, those people are making waves.
I guess you can kind of say you can make that, in a certain technically correct kind of way, you are the first UCF national championship.
Yeah.
UCF as far as the name goes.
Right.
So in that case, when you look at all around campus, like how obviously you don't get to come out here. So what does it mean to be able to come back up here every once in a while for these games?
Oh, like I said, I need my fix sometimes. Because I remember the memories. I get excited, and I always say like, if I ever retire, I need to come back and move here, because it's just a different atmosphere. It's exciting, and just watching it grow. And I feel like I've watched it grow every year we've come up, and I just feel proud that I was like a foundational piece of it. I feel like, we first started, when we were in the education building playing, and I can say that. And then when they built the arena, I can say, I played in there, and then I coached in there. So I feel like I was here when it started, and as we grew. So I think that, I'm blessed, and I'm grateful for all the things that we've had. Would I have loved to play in front of 1,600 people? Heck yeah, because I think that's just like, I feed off that. I think it's fun, but I appreciate the smaller, sometimes ones that we had, smaller games in the education building, but it was packed. My first game at UCF was against the University of Michigan in the education building. And we had that packed, and education building just had the 2 bleachers and halfway up. So, but it's still, it was ours. And that's where you can get that proud moment. Like, it was ours.
Were you one of the like probably one of the 1,500, 1,600 people that was screaming out when they?
Yeah. No, every time touch, no. Yeah.
What was it like to be a part of that environment from that side?
Exciting that it was like we're celebrating, high-fiving the people around us that we don't know, but we're all celebrating for the same thing, I don't need to say, oh my God, I used to play there. Oh my God, I used to be part of that team. I didn't need that. I just felt like, man, I'm one of those fans who came to watch great volleyball and support their university. And that so many people, even the young kids that are there probably with their club team and their coach, and they're probably giving them, little tidbits and stuff. I think it's just that, again, it brings the community together to celebrate a win, and a win for women's sports.
What do you want to take with you from seeing UCF play back to HNL? How do you like to relate your experiences to whether it was playing for UCF volleyball or watching what UCF volleyball has become now with you to your players at HNL?
I think I instill in them foundation. I instill in them like the trust process. I instill in them about what it's like to just do the basics, and I saw like, man, they stuck to their basics, like their platform and how they held their hands. That's why I videoed some things, because I'm going to show them like all the things I watched tonight. They are very fundamentally sound, and they don't break down a lot, which is nice. And even my team, we had a match yesterday before I came here today, and I told them we didn't win. I said, but your foundational was sound, and you guys did much better because of the systems that we put in place. And they have great systems. They had phenomenal, and you can just tell. They're coached very well, and they're disciplined. And I think that's a big thing. Discipline in athletes is a huge deal.
How has the season been with you guys with HML?
My girls team, they're young, they're new, freshman, sophomore. So we've got some growing pains. My boys team, we missed out on state last year, and so this year we're chomping at the bit. So they're coming in, they're already working out, they help me. I have a few of them come every day to help me with my girls program, because I think that's important too. Coach was telling me that they had a phenomenal camp this summer. She's like, bring your team to camp, we'd love to have you. And I said, oh, 100%. And I make my boys, and we were talking about that when you have your players teach other kids a certain skill, whether it's passing or serving, they're basically coaching and teaching themselves and self-reflecting, because now they have to teach it to maybe another younger person or someone that has never served before or have never played before. So as coaches, we kind of set that tone because we want them to know how to self-correct themselves in the game. You know, you can't be screaming all the time. You can't scream at them every point what to do and what you did wrong or what you need. You kind of have to get them and hope that you've taught them enough when the game starts that they can self-correct and self-help each other out.
Awesome. Well, best of luck with the rest of the season,
Thank you
Coach.
so
I really
much.
appreciate you taking the time.
No, thank you so much.